He does not understand, why would anybody make me go outside of email? Now, if he likes you, he'll, if you're a friend of his, he'll click on that link, but he'll say, I only did this because it's you, Leanne. So, but you go for a walk with him in Carrera Forest, and his apps on his iPhone are amazing. We always share our apps on our iPhone. So he has a very particular way about engaging with social media tools. On your right, I get my directions, is my 15-year-old son, who looks more like he's 20 and is going to cause me all sorts of problems when he can get into bars illegally. But anyways, he thinks that email is the most outdated technology ever. Why would anybody ever use email? Now, we live in Nairobi, we're Canadian, our family's all in Vancouver or around there. So I keep saying to him, look, dude, if you want to engage with Nanny and Papa and Grandma, you got to email them, because Facebook isn't really their thing. And he'll go off and get frustrated about that. I'm like, that's the way they are. So if you want to chat with them, you got to email them. Then I get the teenage, big deep breaths, and, sort of grudgingly he'll send an email. So just like probably with your stakeholders, we really have these very, very wide continuums, and they're very much reflected in Habitat as well. Other continuums we have people who are completely fatigued with email. They're overloaded. Trying to communicate with them is basically, you got to kind of go to the hub of UN Habitat in this little cafe, and you kind of wait for them to show up, or you kind of go hunt them down personally. Because if you send them an email, it's like their 2001st email in the last week, and they're just completely overwhelmed. And then we have lots of people who are really energized and excited. We also have people that have very low confidence in social media, and we have people that are very competent and very confident rather. And just to demonstrate this, I was chatting with a colleague at Habitat the other day. This person is one of the world-renowned experts in this particular field, and she had just discovered that you could grab more than one email at a time and put them into a folder. That was revolutionary for her. She was so excited to share that with me. So I know that if you're not all experts in social media, you're certainly, very close to that. One of the challenges that we face is we just have these really, really big continuums, and fear is a big player on this stage. We also have people who are very skeptical. This is another continuum that we deal with. They're very, very skeptical about social media. And then we have cheerleaders. One of the very first training I did with the branch, and I know this will be old school to you, but this was really exciting for them, is I asked them, what are 3 words to describe how you feel about social media? Okay, so all the housing and slum upgrading branch staff, I asked them those 3 words, we scribed them, and then I made this word cloud. They didn't know how to make a word cloud. This was really new for them. And when we've been sharing this with some of the partners and the stakeholders, these little firecrackers go off. People get really excited about a really, really simple tool. So you can see what's the most common thing that the housing staff were feeling a bit ago. Maybe you don't know, or maybe you're just tired and the caffeine hasn't kicked in yet. But in case you don't know, word clouds measure frequency of text. So the bigger the word, the more frequent that word has been mentioned. The smaller the word, the less frequent. So how are housing staff feeling a while ago? Excited and overwhelmed, exactly. I'm very happy to say the most recent training we did last week or a week ago, they had turned a page. They were really a lot more of the excited than the overwhelmed. So those are some of the continuums that we're facing, and things to think about before starting your strategy. The last one is key stakeholders. This has been challenging because we have so many content experts. It's such a privilege to play on the world stage, to work with the UN. I mean, truly, makes my Canadian patriotic heart, just be a little faster there. What we don't necessarily have is the social media expertise, and we need to build up both of those, or rather, not build up the content expertise, but we do need to build up the social media expertise. So we are searching out people that are confident and comfortable with those tools. Any questions at all about those elements before I go on? Next stage. Yeah. That's a great question. So the question Boulant asked is how do we overcome? I don't know that we've completely overcome them, but when I get to the tools section, and actually the next section as well, one of the things I'm really focusing on is ease. Whatever we're doing, it has to be easy or it's not going to fly, because people they've got so much work to do and they're playing at a really high level. So that might sound a bit trite, and I don't mean it to be, but the first thing is it's got to be easy. Yes?
Can I ask what you consider content?
Oh, in our case, content is housing and slum upgrading issues. So you can't get much better experts in our field than at the UN in this. I mean, these are really world-renowned experts. So they're experts in the content that we're trying to share around social media and create engagement and community. They're not necessarily social media experts.
What forms of content take? Is it white papers or press releases?
Oh, convening, writing international policy, doing research, conferences. Mohammed's off to Rabat, Morocco, and Senegal. Well, basically until January, he's not home much in Nairobi. So convening and presenting at conferences, things like that. Consulting stakeholders, dealing with donors, advocacy, outreach. Yeah.
Also normative work and things like that. Guides.
Okay, so that's kind of the things behind the scene. Now I want to share with you some tools. But before I do that, what I'd like you to do is get me to stand up. Okay, so you got to throw something at me, okay? Fire. Oh, there's a fire? I don't smell fire and I don't hear the fire alarms, but I'll keep an ear out, yeah? Anyone else?
There's a mouse.
There's a mouse. Oh, I love mice. Oh, great.
Could you please stand up?
Could I please stand up? Oh, that's a great question, Rhonda. Thank you. I'll think about that.
You need to go to the bathroom.
Do I need to go to the bathroom? I'm getting there, actually, but I think I can hold it for another few minutes. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
You've been practicing in Nairobi.
Would I please stand up? Yeah, I can't get out the darn doors. Would I please stand up? Thanks. I'll think about that. Oh, you want me to get other people to stand up? Oh, okay. That's an interesting thing. Okay. Anyone else?
I didn't understand the Rhonda thing. I'm really struggling with this one.
You didn't understand the Rhonda thing. You're really struggling with this one. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
You need to get up.
I don't need to get up, but thank you. Thanks for asking.
Good try.
Jennifer did a great presentation later if you want to connect with her. Can I get the lights? I would be afraid that you would all fall asleep if I turned the lights on, but yeah.
You're sitting on the cord.
I'm sitting on the cord. Well, I have my confidence monitor here. It looks like it's okay, but thanks. Okay. You're all leaving if I don't. Oh, okay, well, maybe I'll stand up. Okay. Okay, so the reason why I did that is it's amazing. The one thing that usually comes out is someone makes a crack about my kids, that my kids have been hurt, they're an emergency, and I have to go to the hospital. This is part of a longer training session that I did, but I kind of wanted to get your curiosity going there. Most of the comments, most of the things that people say are a little bit kind of radical, like they're often lies. You know, the chair that I'm sitting on or the stage, it's broken, there's fire, there's a mouse, there's these sort of forceful, sort of pushing comments, as opposed to it's very rare for someone to say to me, will you stand up? It's even more rare for someone to say, what would it take you to stand up? Right? So I think that those kinds of, we kind of maybe perhaps default to some of those kind of slipperier, there's a fire, there's a mouse, your chair is broken, your kids are hurt, there's something, that simply aren't true, as opposed to saying, what would it take you to stand up? How can I help you? What do you need? Right? Which is really kind of the underpinnings of social media. Who was the one who said you didn't get the Rhonda thing? Okay, so I can help at the break if this one wasn't clear as well, but we can chat later. Okay.
Me too.
Okay, so if the other things that we focused on were 5 things to consider before starting to design a strategy, these are the things that we're hitting the ground with now. So I mentioned this one already, easy. It has to be easy or people just, there's not going to be uptake. Secondly, I know that you know this, but the people that I'm working with, some of them are really struggling with this, that it's not a matter of professional or personal, that it's a blend of both. And that blend will look different for everyone. So on one of the very first trainings I did with the UN on social media, I did some research ahead of time. I sent out to my VA. I said, here are the names. See what's online for these people. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Do they have blogs, etc.? And one of the women, one of the participants had a blog. And I happened to be watching her face as I said, I've done some research to see where you're at online. She looked at me with horror. Like, was I going to share her blog? Was I going to cross that line? And this is a real reality for some of the UN folks. They're not necessarily used to combining both of those and what their own comfort ratio is. If we say we're going to be a little bit more personal, what does that mean? Right? That doesn't mean sharing your favorite sexual position. We're not talking about that. Right? But what does it mean for people so that they're comfortable? Right? We have a really strong piece around capacity building and learning and development. When I evaluate my own work, I know that I'm not doing my job if I walk away, if they're not able to do for themselves. So we're really focusing on capacity building, on learning and development. And I'm really excited to say the last training we had, we've only done 2, but the last one, word has percolated out. And I had people from other branches say, can I come? Can I come? And I'm thinking, I think Mohammed's okay with this. I haven't really asked him, but yeah, sure, come on. So we had, a couple of other branches represented at this training, which I think is a really, really great sign. What we're also working on is, for the moment, we're pretty much exclusively focusing on LinkedIn to reach the professionals, the architects, the planners, etc. And we're also testing some strategies on how to get youth involved. Youth have really been not included in housing issues very much. So we're trying to look at what would work with that cross-cutting group, and with the goal of maybe taking those strategies and applying it to the other cross-cutting groups, which are women and Indigenous peoples. And then we're also I'm trying to focus on incentives, looking at some of that organizational development piece, that behavioral psychology piece of what will motivate people. And it's a little bit tough in the UN because of procurement issues. So it's, for example, if I say to people, let's have a contest and your prize is going to be a song from iTunes, I can't do that in the UN. I can't get that cost through the procurement process in the UN. So I just pay for that out of my budget. But it's a little bit hard to look at some of those incentive issues. We're facing some challenges with that. Okay, so we've done lights. Next one is camera. So these are the trainings that I'm doing with the staff are focused on 5, 5, and 5. If you've ever been to Africa, or if you want to go to Africa, you've heard of do you know what the big 5 means?
The animals?
Yeah, exactly. So some people, tick off these animals, which include, I always get them wrong, is it buffalo, elephant, rhino, lion, what's the fifth? And leopard. I still have not seen it. Actually, I saw a baby leopard on the day. I said the night before I saw it, I said, we will see a leopard tomorrow because the batteries in our camera are dead and I don't have replacements. Sure enough, baby leopard next day. No camera. Anyway, so this is what I've shared with the UN staff so far. We did a training on what I called the Big 5 search tools. So one of them is Marketing Grader and Search Grader from HubSpot. He's coming to speak, I don't know, this is today or tomorrow, Mike from HubSpot. This has really made, well, you asked, I think, this question about motivating people. This really had some traction. And if you haven't used this, what you do is you put your website into these tools. It's completely free, and it'll kick back what your organic keywords are. So the websites that we're using haven't had any SEO done on them. So it was really interesting to tell the UN staff that, you know, one of the top, the third top organic keyword for their website is how to format your CV for the World Bank. UN Habitat is not the World Bank. So this really, really had some traction, the fact that it's free and really, really simple. Another tool was looking at Google AdWords and Google Trends. Yes?
Did you get exactly the same by Google Analytics?
I'm sorry?
Don't you get the same answers if you use Google Analytics?
Yeah, this one you sort of get a big report. And it's very kind of, I don't know, has anyone used Search Grader, Marketing Grader? It's kind of cheeky, like, what? You don't have a blog? We couldn't find a blog. You might want to think about getting a blog. So it's just kind of fun to read. So, yeah. With Google AdWords, what I did is I had the staff brainstorm all the different keywords that they would consider using, and then I put it in an Excel list format so they can sort it. And these are the top ones, and sorry, it's not very clear, but you have it in your handout. The top searches as well as compared to the bottom searches. So it's, again, Bulent, back to your question, it really had some traction to know that, you know, a top search gets more than 45 million hits, searches a month, versus something that there were some terms that got no searches, no monthly global searches. So teaching them how to do that, getting the staff to work on that a bit more, just to understand some search functions on the web. And the same thing with Google Trends. Because with staff headed off, when you go on travel for work, it's called mission with the UN. So staff are going on mission all the time. So it's especially the Google Trends, well, and the AdWords too, you can drill down and see what's happening in a particular city or a particular country. Google Alerts, again, a really popular tool, teaching them how to use that. And just with our company, Rock, Paper, Scissors, one of the things that we do training in is how to use humor in the workplace strategically. And for 3 years, we had a Humor in the Workplace Awards program. And I had a Google alert for humor in the workplace. And so I had my Google alerts, sending to me once a day or once a week, whatever it was. And as I was reading a sample website, I thought, this sounds really familiar. This is our entire program. So a company had taken our entire contest, put it onto their website, taken out where it said Leanne says la la la, they'd put their name in. And this was in New Zealand. So there's no way that I could have ever found this without a Google alert. And that also, other than the poor guy on the team who's from New Zealand, again, that practical example had some traction. I'm happy to say that Canada and New Zealand are signatory to the same international copyright laws, so it was easy to fix that issue. NetVibes, has anyone used NetVibes? Yeah, it's a really great tool. The dashboard is really clean. It pulls in blogs and pictures and videos and RSS and again, this was new to the staff. They hadn't used a tool like that before. And then Delicious. I'm really a huge fan of Delicious. Anyone here have Delicious sites yourself? Really, just one person has an account? Oh, I'm shocked. So Delicious is how many people know what Delicious is? Okay, about half of you. For the other half, Delicious is a social bookmarking site. So the UN is all about content, right? And resources and intellectual property. So I'm really working with them to start bookmarking some of the content online as a way of curating that and sharing that with other stakeholders. Okay, so those are the big five for search. We haven't done this yet, but the next training at the UN will be on the big 5 actual tools, blogs, LinkedIn, things like that. I did some work, a little bit of work with the staff on LinkedIn, and it took a full month to get everybody up on LinkedIn. And I won't say that they're comfortable. Some of them are, I don't get this, it's scary. So lots of hand-holding, lots of reassuring. You know, if you put something up there, you choose what goes there, that kind of thing. So it's starting to build. The momentum, people are starting to get excited and more confident. And then 5 tools for ease. Again, they haven't, the staff haven't seen this yet. This will be an upcoming training session, but teaching them about Hootsuite, Google Docs, Google Analytics, and Compfight. Anyone use Compfight here? Does anyone use a lot of photos in your blogs or on your websites, things like that? Compfight is a tool that searches Flickr in a much easier way. And so for Creative Commons licensing, how many people have looked for a photo on Flickr to use and then only after the fact realized that it wasn't professionally licensed, so you can't use it? Anyone had that situation? No? Well, Compfight solves that because it will fill, if you're looking for Creative Commons licensed photos for professional use, you just tick that box and it will only show you the photos from Flickr that you are Creative Commons licensed to use professionally. So it's a fabulous tool. I use it all the time, pretty much every day. And then the ladder of engagement. Has anyone seen the ladder of engagement? Yeah, okay. So this is just teaching people about what different levels of engagement look like and how to move them from one step to the other. This is all in your package, in your resource package. Okay, so 5 tools for search, 5 tools, the big 5 tools themselves, and then 5 tools for ease. So lights, camera, action. These are the 5 different, there's a lot of 5s in this presentation. These are the 5 different areas that we're focusing on. So as I mentioned, training is a really big portion of it. We're doing lots of research, listening, starting to gather information online. There'll be lots of reporting on the strategy. Connected to the UN's RBM, results-based management, the evaluation piece, and then actually writing the strategy and utilizing that. So that's pretty much the end of our presentation. We've got a few minutes left. I want to say a big thank you. We were really excited to be invited to come here, although it's darn cold. You know, you've lived in Nairobi for a while when you get here, and I'm from Vancouver, so yeah, it's pretty cold. We really would like to invite you to leave your business card. If you want to receive more resources, we'll send you probably more than you might want, but I'll send you delicious links with links to probably 1,000 social media resources that you can filter accordingly, newsletters with social media topics, this package electronically. We'll send you information on the global housing strategy, whatever you like, and you can parse it as you like. If you do want that, please leave your card with Jeanette. And also please join us. If you'd like to join the Gateway, that link is at the bottom of all of your pages. If you're interested in housing or want to get interested in housing, please join us. It's a really wonderful thing to get involved in. So we'd like to throw it back over to you. We have about 5 minutes for questions. Do you have any questions or suggestions? Yes? How do we engage with people in the slums? There's a couple of things. We haven't done that directly with the social media piece yet, but the one thing in Africa that most people have one and sometimes more than one is a cell phone. So SMS is huge. So there's lots of interesting work being done in the slums with texting. So we'll connect in probably with some of those folks, and then also bringing them in, and the staff are always in the slums, always going on mission, the local slums. Mohammed, did you want to add to that?
Yes, indeed, and there's a lot of research on the use of cell phones, and MIT has done one on mapping, and a lot of mapping is also happening in Kibera, if you know, in Nairobi, one of the biggest slums. So a lot of it is happening using the phones. You either go to the chiefs or the natural leaders within the community or families, etc., and you can track them over time, so every 3 months or what have you. And so that could be related, linked to a GIS mapping system, and it can also track development as it happens. So indeed, I mean, we were trying to get as much of the media at different levels and different uses where it's more effective and more efficient to use.
Yes.
What is the single biggest barrier to the success of the EHS 2025 program delivering successfully? What is it? Do you know what you don't have, or do you have a toolkit that you need?
Related to social media or overall?
No, the success of the global housing strategy you're asking.
Probably towards social media, but take it broader if you want.
I'll take the social media if you want to talk overall.
Basically, what we want is to be more participatory and to outreach as much as possible. As I said, in the late 80s, it was really top-down. It was a couple of thinkers writing a strategy and going to the world and saying, this is what you guys have to do. And this is no longer useful. And we've seen it actually damage a lot of countries. A lot of the housing problems are because of certain dogmas that were there. And we really are saying that we need to share a lot, we need to learn from each other, and we need to build capacities to address the problems that are there. So to achieve that, whatever tools we can find and whatever technology we are going to adopt and use. So that is kind of how we would like to work it out. Yeah.
From a social media perspective, it's a really great question. I would say probably fear and overwhelm. And just people understanding that this is something that they can do, that they can be. These are, with the UN staff, these are very, very competent people. So, adding something that they initially might see as scary and completely not related to them. So, showing all of those practical links that it doesn't have to be difficult, lots of confidence building, and ease. It has, whatever we do, it's got to be easy. And then some successes, and some of those, finding that the UN, the World Bank CV formatting, that really pops for the staff. Really? I didn't know that, Yeah.
Maybe a follow-up on this. In the year 2000, I did an evaluation as part of a team of a program that was funded by the European Commission and implemented by the World Bank in Sub-Saharan Africa. And one of their key ways of communicating was through a website. And it was exchange, is exactly what we're talking about, exchange between countries and exchanges between 100 cities and so on. When we evaluated, we found out that more than 50% of the cities did not have, in 2000, did not have access to websites. Didn't have power, it was cutting down you cannot download a two-pager, etc. So our recommendation was, please find another medium, because you cannot depend on that. So basically burn CDs and send them. They had computers, but they couldn't download stuff and so on. Now we're 12 years later, and that's why we're opening up to this, because we really work in least developed countries that don't have those, the technology and so on. Now it's much, much better, and if not, at least we have the United Nations Development Programs offices at country level, or our colleagues, or our own work, so we can still link in through those. It's more of a proxy, it's not really at the hands of everyone. But you can depend on that technology for a fast. Let me give you an example. If we have another couple of minutes. Who knows Fannie Mae, US? Fannie Mae. What did Fannie Mae do lately?
For those people that don't know Fannie Mae.
Yeah. Someone that knows, can they tell the others? Okay, Fannie Mae are lending out, are building houses and lending so people could own them. And in 2008, when we had the crash, 18 million houses, 0.9, were repossessed, and they're sitting empty. So they did a brilliant thing 2 months ago. They announced that they're giving 2,500 units to a private sector company to rent them out. So this one-liner saying that instead of selling houses that we don't have a client, we're going to rent them out. This shift in thinking, this paradigm shift from ownership to rental, is going to solve a lot of problems. They're not going, the pipes are not going to rust and sort of explode in winter when no one is housewarming, etc. So even if they rent it out for much less, they are protecting their property and their investment. Now this one-liner news, to me, is extremely important to share with other countries that have the same problem. So the UK can learn from that, Spain can learn from that, Canada, etc. And for us, crowdsourcing and exchange on the on the social media can, and the professional media particularly, can spread the word like fire very quickly. And you don't need to wait for 2 years until what we would have done classically in the UN, hire a consultant, send them out to do the research, make sure that it's waterproof and it works, etc., etc. And after 2-3 years, publish it. You want today to exchange very fast. Countries have their professionals and they can judge for themselves whether to go out and rent their vacant houses or not. And we would like to, we can support that kind of discussion through the platform and have the experts talk to each other and hopefully maybe a quick solution. It doesn't cost us anything, it's zero cost. It's not 2-3 million as we had the luxury of 10-15 years ago, but it's very effective and it's very fast. And hopefully then you get responses and peers will say we tried that or we are going to try it, and then they start reporting to each other. And it can take a life of its own without us. So we want to facilitate that. We want also to learn and document, as I showed on that pyramid of knowledge, that you want to move forward to more documenting and then really publish the results and so on. But to us, it's the instantaneous exchange that is very valuable, that we would like to foster and to support.
And just building on that, I'd add, working with very diverse, a huge number of different kinds of stakeholders, and also holding in your head, you've got this plan, that you're on track with, and at the same time keeping it very organic and very iterative, because the plan is always changing, always. What we're doing yesterday, it's different today. And then Mohammed, this wonderful, wonderful man who has been the champion. I mean, he's really the shining light in UN Habitat. He'll come up with these 5 ideas like, great, okay, different plan, let's do this, So very, very planned and very organic. Anything else? Any other comments, questions?
Tell us your
Twitter
Twitter account.
account at UN Habitat.
Yeah, it's just at UN Habitat. All one word, yeah.
Maybe one thing about academia and changing mindsets. If you don't outreach to the youth and the students, you're going to remain in the same old school that we've always been. And I showed quickly on a slide a competition. The idea here is that we want to engage the youth in thinking, and not only them, because they're the professionals of the future. In 2-3 years, they'll be the professionals working out there. So if we already start to engage them in the new thinking, and then the professors are also going to have to supervise them and think about the same issues, and the professionals outside. So you're really changing now the attitudes in countries and in cities as we go along. So that is I think, crucial also in doing that.
Okay, so on behalf of Mohammed and myself and Jeanette, we'd like to say a warm welcome. I know you didn't have another choice. This was a plenary, but we'd like